and shine. Good morning. I don't know if you're watching this in the morning or not, but I'm recording it in the morning, and I tell you what, this is this is a interesting seminar or webinar for me to do right now because my sleep has been rough. Uh, if you don't know, we had a new baby. He is like 5.5 weeks old, and we have twin 2 year olds. So my sleep has been off, and I'll tell you what, it was kind of depressing doing the research and getting ready for the seminar because you're learning like how important sleep is and all the things that are happening physiologically to me because my sleep has not been consistent. But I'm going to give you guys some awesome tips and some insight to how to improve your sleep so that way you guys can really just thrive. In fact, the whole purpose and the mission behind doing these events and what we're trying to create with our patients in the office is to just it's to empower you to live fully. It's to reach your God-given potential, and whatever that means. I mean, it could mean just being a better parent, a better spouse, a better employee or entrepreneur, or just living out like your purpose. And we want to make you a healthier version so that way you have the energy and the vitality to do all the things that you want to do. And so we're going to power you through the 5 essentials and the most up-to-date corrective chiropractic care. So we're going to jump right into this. So ultimately what you're going to learn is what sleep is, why do we have to sleep? So what happens if we don't sleep, and what causes you to have poor sleep, and some just really good tips to sleep better and to make sure that you're getting this aspect of your health done, because it's really important. I mean, eating good and exercising, those things are important. Getting adjusted, maintaining a healthy spine nerve system is critical. But sleep is just a major factor. It is when your body heals. It is when your body regulates stress hormones. It's when your immune system kicks up. So we've got to make sure that we're putting this as part of our health paradigm. So, and ultimately understanding like how many people have sleep issues is just insane. So right now, the lack of sleep I'm getting is a little bit out of my control, and hopefully this is just a short season and we're working on it. In fact, we actually talked to a sleeping coach for our uh, twins, our toddlers. They're 2.5, and really trying to understand what things that we can do to help them sleep better so that we sleep better. And I'll share some of those insights. Dr. Carly is going to be doing more of a pediatrics prenatal version of this talk, and so she'll go a little bit more into depth on some of that stuff. But it's just crazy. 1 out of 3 adults don't get adequate sleep, and it leads to all sorts of different health issues. So here's some signs that you need better sleep. You are irritable or you're moody, unable to focus. Remember, how we learn and how we transfer short-term memory into long-term memory occurs when we sleep. Blood pressure increases. So if you have hypertension, this is something that you all absolutely need to focus on. If you get sick more often, if you tend to need more sleep on the weekends, if you have blood sugar instability, so if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, this is like a no-brainer. You've got to focus on better sleep. If you have weight loss resistance issues, this is a massive problem when we don't sleep well. You have to consume lots of stimulants just to get through the day, or you can't stop hitting the snooze button in the morning. If you just are so groggy in the morning, you can't just get out of bed. These are all signs that you've got to just really take what I'm saying today and try to implement that into your health strategies. We obviously know that a lack of sleep creates higher stress levels. Your body's inability to adapt increases. So it leads to diseases. It weakens your immune system. So you're way more likely to be building cancer, heart disease, strokes. We'll go into some stuff about how it causes Alzheimer's. We talked about blood sugar instability. So it leads to a higher rate of diabetes and insulin resistance, obesity, depression, anxiety. Even like new studies suggest that like a lack of sleep can really even like increase like your brain eating itself. And this is a big contributing factor to things like Alzheimer's, decreased mood stability, inability to adapt to different stresses, because it leads to like your body's ability, not inability to rebuild and clean out all the things that we need to do. So here's kind of just a graphic of it when you sleep. So CSF, it is like the blood of your nerve system. When you sleep, this CSF really flows through your brain significantly more. And so it helps to rinse out metabolic waste, buildup of amyloid plaques, which is what leads to all sorts of brain disease. If you're not sleeping, if you're awake, you can see like through MRIs, it doesn't flow the same. And so if you're not sleeping, it's not rinsing the brain from metabolic buildup, and it can even increase atrophy of the brain, which leads to an array of issues: depression, memory issues, brain fog, mood disorders. I mean, you name it. So when you sleep, you have significantly better CSF flow. So again, one of the reasons why we got to sleep better. There's a little bit of a difference between males and females. Females tend to get a little bit more sleep on average than males. Females tend to get into a better or higher percentage of like deep REM sleep than males do. But on the flip side, females are significantly more often to have insomnia. So it seems like guys can go to sleep easier, but they don't sleep as deeply or as good. And another big thing that it seems like males have versus females is sleep apnea and things like snoring, which I am going to hit on a little bit later as far as tips to be able to help with this. Here's just a quick graphic on what like age groups as far as requirements for sleep. Obviously, the younger you are, the more sleep that you need. So that's why babies tend to sleep a lot. We're kind of in the easy phase of our newborn because the majority of the time he's sleeping or eating. So it makes it a little bit easier. As they get a little bit older, they require less sleep. And then the kind of the peak time for like the least amount of sleep is like as an adult, but the majority of adults are not getting enough sleep, which leads to a majority of disease processes. So it is a requirement for a minimum 7 hours, and then obviously a little bit more even. I will say that there are some different reasons why someone might need or require more sleep versus less sleep. Obviously, the healthier you are, the more your body can adapt to stress. So you might be able to get away with a little bit less sleep the healthier you are, because you're just getting better quality. But if you're toxic, or you have chronic inflammatory issues, or you have weight issues, I mean, these are things that would absolutely be a necessity for more sleep, because it's just harder for your body to self-regulate and to heal. The stages of sleep, like, so in the beginning, you have that light sleep where you're kind of relaxed, drowsy, but you're easily awoke. And then you have deep sleep, which is where your core temperature drops, heart rate and breathing slow down. And then you get into that REM sleep, which is where your body really starts to heal. So it's critical to make sure we're getting into those stages. Cardiac rhythm really influences the majority of what we do. So your cardiac rhythm, or your circadian rhythm is kind of your biological clock, and it does tend to change. So I'll hit on this real quick. Teenagers tend to get a bad rap because they tend to sleep in more and they're lazy. And this is a bad stigma. Their circadian rhythm does tend to shift. So they tend to be a little bit more alert at night and then sleep in through the day. So it's just a biological thing. So sometimes when teenagers are required to wake up earlier, it is a lot harder on their physiology. But so your circadian rhythm obviously controls when you get tired and when you want to go to sleep, and then obviously when you wake up. The good thing about being consistent with your circadian rhythm and not forcing it to change, like staying up later on the weekends, is it does make it to where you can wake up without an alarm clock if you're consistent. So it controls, when you're hunger, it does influence mood, it controls body temperature, even metabolic rate, and it is a pretty big deal when it comes to releasing specific hormones. Melatonin is again, it's a hormone and your body does create it in the brain. Healthy people really don't need to supplement, because I get asked all the time about supplementation with melatonin, and it's not necessarily a requirement. Sometimes it can aid, but ultimately it's not necessary, especially if your body and your brain chemistry and your hormones are functioning properly. So you can kind of see through this chart, like when melatonin builds up, when it peaks, which creates drowsiness, and then obviously when it drops to allow your body to wake up. And so part of what will influence that is light. And I'll talk about this like when it's important to have light and when it's important to like avoid light when it comes to producing hormones like serotonin and melatonin. But light really does influence the serotonin, and serotonin is the hormone that really is in charge of like mood. So when someone has depression, they have an inability to regulate or to create serotonin, and there's lots of underlying issues to this. Gut health is important. If you have poor gut health, you don't produce serotonin very well. Think of like your gut like the manufacturing center of creating serotonin, and your nerve system is what regulates serotonin. One of the really major problems with taking an antidepressant, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, is if you're producing like this much serotonin, it just stops your body from absorbing some of it. It doesn't allow your body to create it. So you never really improve your serotonin by taking those medications. And this is ultimately why people never really get better. And there's a lot of really bad side effects to antidepressants if you want to look those up, including things like depression. So I would really rather recommend someone try to understand how to increase their body's ability to create or produce serotonin and then how to regulate that. Just like melatonin, instead of taking a bunch of melatonin, how about we help our body regulate it and create that melatonin so we can have a healthy, normal chemistry and mood regulation and hormone regulation. Sleep pressure, adenosine, is a chemical that builds up in your brain throughout the day. It increases your desire to sleep. Caffeine works by successfully battling with these adenosine for the privilege of latching onto these receptors. So caffeine blocks the adenosine buildup in the receptors, and this is what allows you to have more wakefulness. It just kind of hijacks those receptor sites. And caffeine is a really good tool when used appropriately, but it is one of the number one abused stimulants. And so it can be great. And I'll talk about some of the things that will help. One of the things that's really important to understand about how this specific chemical or hormone works is when you wake up, this hormone needs to like deplete. If you consume caffeine too early in the day, typically recommendation is somewhere between an hour and 90 minutes after waking to consume caffeine. If you consume caffeine too early, it stops the adenosine from depleting your system, so it's still there. And so when the caffeine wears off, the adenosine is still there, and so you get fatigue. One of the biggest signs that you're doing caffeine too early is if you get fatigue in the afternoon. So if you feel like you need a nap or need a second coffee or an energy drink in the afternoon, it might be because you're just consuming caffeine too early. And so maybe try to avoid caffeine after waking, somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. Another thing that can really help is if you do some movement or some exercise in the morning. It does help to regulate this. So if you can get up and do a little bit of exercise, a little bit of movement, it doesn't have to be anything too intense if you're not a big workout person or if you have like planned to work out later in the day. A little bit of movement, a mobility routine, a short walk, preferably outside, would be really beneficial. Getting sunlight into your eyes can really help to regulate your circadian rhythm, but it really helps with this, specifically this adenosine hormone. So caffeine, like I kind of mentioned, it's really good tool, but you do want to kind of wait a little bit after, wait a little while after waking to consume it. It will tend to create quite a bit of benefit. And avoid really caffeine after, I would say no later than 2 o'clock if you can, because it really does mess with your sleep, especially if you're doing an energy drink because they have a ton of caffeine. Like some of these energy drinks have like 160 to 200 to even 250 milligrams of caffeine, and you should really never take more than like 300 to 400 in a day. Like that's so much. Not only because it affects your adrenals and create adrenal burnout and stress hormone like cortisol issues, but it can lead to things like tachycardia, like increased heart rate. It can also increase hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, where the heart muscle gets too big because the heart is working too much because of caffeine being a stimulant. So I would really recommend not doing more than 300 milligrams, and definitely stay under 400 for sure. If you work out in the afternoon and you're doing a caffeine energy drink or a caffeine pre-workout, be very careful and monitor your sleep. But it is one of the number one cause of a lot of heart issues. So cortisol is a stress hormone, and it is really, really good. And it has a lot of benefits. It is absolutely necessary. But when we live in a state of like constant stressors, too often we get these elevated chronic levels of cortisol, and it can be very devastating overall for your health. You can kind of see what a normal like cortisol level should look like. Cortisol is ultimately what wakes you up in the morning. So it should be the highest in the morning, and then it just slowly tapers off. So that way, like when it comes to bedtime, cortisol levels are at its lowest and you're able to go to sleep easily. Adrenal fatigue kind of looks like this. You have a really hard time waking up because your cortisol is so low, and then it just cuts higher throughout the day, and then it's high at night, and it's very difficult to go to sleep. Extreme adrenal burnout is where you're just dysregulated. There are some really good tests you can do, like a stress test or adrenal test. Saliva cortisol tests are really good. So you just take some saliva and put it in vials, and you do that a couple times throughout the day to kind of monitor what your cortisol levels are. We have some labs that could do stuff like this, but it helps to understand where you're at in this burnout level, and it's just a motivating factor to show you, hey, like you've got to do something because it'll lead to chronic disease processes. But ultimately you don't really need the test. I mean, you could if you really want to see it, but you should be able to tell with your fatigue and your stress threshold if you have an issue like this. And I would say the majority of adults probably do, and it's a good idea to address this. And so I'm going to give you some tips on things that we can do to really like navigate this. Napping can be really good. I don't know who has time to nap. I definitely don't have time to nap throughout the day. So you can, if you have the availability. You don't want to necessarily sleep too late in the day because it will affect your ability to go to bed at night. But one thing that's important to understand too is like you can't like regain lost sleep. Something that I read a long time ago, which is kind of depressing, but as a parent with young children, you typically don't really get back to normal sleep schedules until they're around 7, which is crazy to think about. Now, you might have really good sleepers, and this maybe doesn't apply to you, but for everybody else, just know that you're in a season where focusing on quality and routines personally will really be a benefit to kind of navigate the idea that you're just not going to get as good of sleep in this stage of life. Uh-oh. Can't go to the next slide. There we go. So my rhythm is not your rhythm. I mean, understanding that everybody's going to have different, like maybe sleep cycles. This definitely applies to people who have like swing shifts and works at night. There's some really, really significant evidence out there that swing shifts and working at night is just detrimental to your health. If you can avoid it, I would. But for those that you can't, just take what I'm talking about today and try to implement that into your routines and strategies to try and improve better sleep. If you have poor sleep, it's not just a problem, it is a warning sign of other issues. This is one of the reasons why sleeping medications are so dangerous because you're not addressing the actual cause. You're just covering up symptoms. So if you have bad sleep and a lot of these other symptoms that we talked about before, it's just evidence that we need to work on the global picture on improving overall health because healthy people have healthy sleep. So if you have poor sleep, it's just a warning sign that there's some probably underlying issues going on. So I want to really address the fact on how to improve what you need to be doing through the 5 essentials. If you really look at it, the 5 essentials of max living, they cover every single health aspect under the sun. And through implementing these specific strategies and addressing these essentials, you are going to improve your sleep and you're going to get healthy. And they're not just like pick and choose. If you're not really working on all of the essentials, you are missing a major facet of your health. And the one that you can't see because it's covered by my picture is minimizing toxins. So let's really dive into like how do we actually improve it? We're going to talk about sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous system. This is huge because we're constantly under stress. The majority of adults live in this sympathetic dominant state because there's just so much stresses and we have this dysregulation of our nerve system because of the chronic stresses. And if you are someone who feels like there is a lot of stress, you're stuck in this fight or flight, you cannot sleep good. Sleep happens when you have a dominant parasympathetic state. And we'll talk about how to improve your sympathetic state and get out of that fight or flight nerve system. Sympathetic sleep is like the overdrive. It's looked, you can see it through like HRV, which is like heart rate variability. It's when your brain consistently is boom, 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 like motoring, and it creates all sorts of like health issues, mood, irritability. But so here are kind of the 15 tips that I want to share with you that you can implement today to improve your sleep and to get better health outcomes and avoid sickness and disease. So one of them is like temperature. Your body, your core temperature has to drop a few degrees to get into like sleep mode. One of the things that will really help is just making it colder in your bedroom. Start to decrease the temperature. I saw studies that even show that improved sleep happens if like you can turn your temperature down to like 65 degrees, which I think is a little bit cold. So we have a new baby. New baby sleeps in our room. I'm just not going to turn the temperature down to 65 degrees. I'm just not going to do that. But even if you can just get it down to like 70 degrees, I think that would be really beneficial to improving your ability to get and stay asleep. If you're cold, you just put more covers on and you will do really, really good. So try that. Something else that can really help is just taking a relaxing bath or shower at night. One of the also benefits to that is, so if you take a warm shower, when you get out of the shower, your core temperature will drop. So that really does help you get into that like sleep mode. Even doing like a sauna at night can really help be beneficial, because again, when you get out, your core temperature will regulate and it'll drop. Plus, not to mention, just like it's really relaxing, it's very soothing. It helps to de-stress from the day. So maybe implement that strategy at night. So put the kids down, put the kids to bed, do a nice relaxing bath. As you can see in this picture, like candles, which I'll talk about light here in a little bit, but just do it, try it and see like how your body responds. Set the mood. This is I think really important, is to build a really good routine for sleep. Dim the lights. So on the flip side, something that'll like automatically wake you up, especially if you have a hard time getting up in the morning, if you're trying to regulate your circadian rhythm, is turn on all the bright lights. That'll wake you up. So if you're trying to go to bed and you have all these bright lights on, it's really difficult to get into that sleep mode. So try to turn down lights if you can at night. I mean, and again, this is like even like for the family, trying to avoid a lot of bright lights. Something that I thought was really interesting too. So like if you're getting ready for bed and you're like in your bathroom and or in your closet, if those lights are really bright, try to figure out how to dim those lights so that way you're not exposing yourself to bright lights. Turn off distractions, quiet your phone. Don't be checking emails or text messages or things like that, things that'll get your mind going. Something else that can be really, really bad for you to do at night is to watch the news. Don't do that, especially if you know that like you get triggered by that stuff. Try to avoid stuff like that. Try to keep it a little bit more quiet. Again, you're trying to get into the sleep mode. Slow down. Read a book. This is really good, and I would try to do fiction. So something that's not going to be really overstimulating, and then really create like the routine with that. Something else that I think would be really good to do, and this is kind of an extra tip, is if you are someone who gets in bed and your brain just like turns on, uh, or you need to do work at night, like check emails or address things, don't do it in bed, because you will subconsciously create a connection with your bed and work, or bed and stress. So if you're laying there and you're thinking about all the things that need to happen tomorrow, and I'm probably more likely talking to the women that are listening. If you're trying to think of all the things that you got to get done tomorrow, get out of bed, go to your office or go to the kitchen table or whatever. Something else that might be really good is to journal or to jot down or to write out your daily tasks, all the things that are on your mind, put it on paper. That tends to help ease you and get it out of your mind. You don't have to come up with all the solutions, but even just getting it out of your brain and onto paper is really, really beneficial. So if you're going to check emails or handle text messages or plan your day or whatever, which is really good to like plan out your day. Like we're really big advocates of like war planning. It does help to minimize other stresses and emergencies and things like that. like crisis is. If you're not planning your day, your plan will fail and you'll just be putting out fires all day. So if you really make a list of like all the priorities, like the big things that you can get done in a day, it really does help to navigate, especially if it comes to like scheduling. If you're someone who has a ton of things that are going on with kids and families and works and all the things you got to get done, if you plan that out and try to make like an action step list or even like a timeline of when these things need to get done, it really does help. But just do not do that in bed. Okay. Don't associate your bed with stress. So again, light really does turn on your brain. So try to darken your room. The darker your room, the better you will sleep. And so the way my bedroom is set up is we have a door to the outside, and our outside like lights, like our security lights or whatever you call them, they're just on. And so there's a lot of light that comes in the door on my side of the bed. And so I have a sleep mask, and it the research shows that even just using a sleep mask is incredibly benefit from shutting off all the light, and it really does help you get into sleep and stay in that sleep mode. So again, try to avoid light at night, dimmer switches, go old school, try and do candles, avoid any dangerous situations with candles. Will be really, really good. And on that note, something you've got to avoid is your phone or TV at night. If you like to watch TV at night, do some blue light glasses, but the research shows that light from screens is just really messing up your melatonin levels, a lot of other hormones and stuff like that. So try not to be on your phone at night. Try to avoid TV, or if you are going to do blue light glasses, definitely try not to lay in bed and do your phone. That's really, really devastating to your sleep. Try to avoid caffeine, especially after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, no later than 5. Oh my gosh, don't do that. And try to limit your consumption of caffeine. And if you have sleep issues, and I'm not talking about just falling asleep, because like I've been told like, oh, but like I could drink like an espresso and like go to sleep. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. But again, the research just shows that your sleep cycle and your quality of sleep is really devastated by caffeine, especially later in the day. So just as an experiment, try to avoid caffeine after 2 o'clock, limit your caffeine to like 300 milligrams, and really see if it makes a better quality sleep and just energy levels and vitality, and be able to wake up in the morning and your stress thresholds. The nightcap thing, all the research shows that a nightcap, again, it's a sedative. So you might go to sleep better, but you just have a really poor quality of sleep. You tend to wake up like the way your cortisol levels work, it like peaks at like 3 or 4 a.m. So just try to avoid that as much as possible. If you can work out in the morning, it's really, really good, especially if you can work out outside with the light. I know it's harder in the winter time, but even just getting 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous exercise is really, really good. Something else also that I came across that I thought was really interesting, and it makes sense, but like even just a walk, like a peaceful walk in the evening, can be really, really beneficial to reduce stress, to get a little bit of movement. Now, if walking is your exercise, it's better than nothing, but ultimately it doesn't really turn on a lot of the hormones that are benefit your physiology, like moderate to vigorous exercise. It's better than nothing, but it really doesn't make you sweat. It doesn't get your heart rate up. I mean, some of you walking might get your heart rate up, especially if you're walking at a brisk pace. But in general, a little bit more exercise would be beneficial. Or if you are walking, maybe do a little bit like speed walking and then slow down to a moderate pace. It really will make for a significantly better sleep quality. If you do more vigorous exercise, especially earlier in the day, it is significantly easier to go to sleep at night, and you will get a significantly better quality of sleep too. So try to add in a little bit of exercise or increase your exercise a little bit if you are doing a little bit or walking. Like I said, you got to put the phone down. This is so bad for us. The blue light exposure, even with blue light glasses, it's just not great. I mean, all the research shows that it will make for a poor quality of sleep. So just as like a trial, I'm going to talk about maybe like a sleep challenge, some action steps, and just maybe try it for 30 days. But avoid the phone at night. Getting sunshine, especially in the morning, this is critical for, again, that circadian rhythm. You want to get sunshine, especially first thing in the morning. Like in an ideal world, that you would wake up in the morning, You would wait the 60 minutes or 90 minutes to get your caffeine. You'd get out, you'd go for a walk, you'd go for a run, or you would do a little bit of exercise outside. I mean, even just getting outside in the morning and just looking in the morning, you can even look at the sun a little bit. It's not quite as damaging as the afternoon, but you want to get sun into the eyes. So try to avoid sunglasses. Even just throughout the day, you really do want to try to avoid sunglasses because it does block a lot of the vitamin D absorption. So a lot of the new science is showing how much vitamin D is absorbed through the eyes. We used to think it was more like the skin that you absorb vitamin D through, uh, but the UV lights can penetrate some clothing, but it's harder for it to go through sunglasses. So try to avoid sunglasses when you can. Um, but get out, get in some sunshine. It is critical for the circadian rhythm. Like even in the afternoon, and Dr. Carly will kind of hit on this too, but like, so one thing that like our sleep coach really talked about is even like when I get home from work, if there's still sunlight out, is to get the kids out, get them moving, play outside, get some sun into the eye, especially as the sun goes down, because that, again, that really helps with circadian rhythm. So being able to watch the sunrise and watch the sunset is just amazing for your circadian rhythm. Skip late night snacks, especially refined carbohydrates and sugar. If you're doing carbohydrates or sugar in the evening, it is really bad for your blood sugar, and you'll get blood sugar spikes, and then you'll get blood sugar crashes. And this tends to affect sleep, causes you to wake up at night. So try to avoid that. Another thing, like if you're doing a lot of carbohydrates in the morning, you will get a lot more cravings in the evenings for refined carbohydrates. So again, leaning more toward like the advanced plan where you're eliminating a lot of the refined carbohydrates and sugars, things like that. It'll dramatically improve the quality of your sleep. Again, looking at the advanced plan, if you're a current patient, when you get to your first progress check, we tend to provide specific resources with a Max Living Quick Start Guide to the nutrition process and protocols, as well as a recipe book. I think everybody should do the core plan on a regular basis. The advanced plan is more of a healing diet. It's a little bit more strict. It really is about avoiding a lot of foods that are higher on the glycemic index. So a lot more healthy fats, lower refined carbohydrates, moderate amount of protein, and really more about clean eating than it is like macronutrient breakdown. I think everybody responds to different macronutrient percentages differently. So some people are maybe a little bit more of a carb burner. People would probably do better with fat burning, with more of a advanced plan or keto slight macronutrient breakdown. But at the end of the day, it's really more about quality of food than specific macronutrient breakdown. So check that quick start guide out. Look at the recipe book. There's some great stuff in there. There's tons of resources on our websites. I've had some specific nutrition seminars and webinars that we've pre-recorded on our playlist that you have a resource as. And if you're a new patient and you haven't quite got to your first progress check, just know that we are going to provide you some really good resources when you get to that initial progress check. Now, if you're someone who's looking for a little bit more help with sleep, if you have adrenal issues, if you have high stresses, if you do have a hard time going to sleep, this is the bundle I specifically put together. The adrenal balance is critical. There's really good adaptogens in there that help to minimize the negative effects of stress. So if you just have a lot of stress in your life, you have a lot of stuff going on, or if this is just a season, we have a lot of stresses, the adrenal balance is really, really good for regulating stress hormones. It's amazing support for your adrenals to increase your stress threshold. It is one of the best supplements when it comes to stress lifestyle, which I mean, the majority of people have. I mean, especially women, moms in particular. It's just, I don't know, the way our current structure of the family and stuff like that is going in our culture right now. I would say the majority of women would really benefit from some adrenal support. So this adrenal balance is amazing. One of the reasons why I like ours, because there's a lot of like maybe adrenal help out there. I don't know if it's talked about enough, but one of the reasons why I like ours is it's clean, it's whole food. So there's no fillers, there's no preservatives, there's no junk in there. It's very clean, which is important for all supplementation. Like I just don't recommend buying your supplements from like big box stores or some of the brands out there that I don't really want to say, just because they're not very clean. and they're not whole foods. So you're not absorbing them. They're not bioactive or bioavailable. One of the supplements that I've seen work incredibly, especially with people who take like sleep medications. I can't tell you how many patients that I've had that have come in that have sleep as one of their main problems, and they're on sleep medications. If we can start to implement some of these sleep strategies in proper supplementation, I mean, I've seen people even come off of sleep medications. Like I'm talking about the big ones. So the Sleep and Mood has serotonin precursors, which again helps your body to create serotonin levels. So it'll really help with mood issues, depression, anxiety. There's some other things in there that really help to minimize some of the uh, neurotransmitters that can help like calm down the brain. And then magnesium is a no-brainer. I mean, this is one of those supplements that is just critical for metabolic function and cardiovascular health and even things like vitamin D absorption. But it's going to really help to calm the system. When they look at macronutrient breakdowns, when people do metabolic testing, magnesium is found to be a massive deficiency in all sorts of issues metabolically, but including people who have really poor sleep. So if you're looking for just that little extra help, or if you know you have stress, or you know you have like a stress threshold issue, or you get like stressed out real easily, you know, mom's short fuses, or if you know you have some mood issues or depression issues or anxiety issues, I would really lean toward trying to do this sleep stack, this support bundle. We are going to make it to where this bundle is on sale throughout the office, just to give you an opportunity to really try and see the benefits out of using these proper supplementations. So I would really highly recommend that you try this and see how well you're going to do on it. I've had tremendous success personally with patients. So this is something I really think that you should check out and look at. So on that note, I will say this. So this is specifically towards sleep. I will say that if you're not taking a really good multivitamin, or if you're not taking the daily essentials where it has the multivitamin, the D, the omega, the B complex, if you're not taking those specifically, you are missing out on the specific building blocks to creating healthy metabolic function, healthy hormone regulation, things like that. So you've got to give your body the proper nutrients and building blocks fundamentally to express health. Even our food today is pretty nutrient deficient. So even if you're eating really good, the odds are if we did a metabolic test, it'll show nutrient deficiencies. So I would absolutely make sure you start fundamentally with like the daily essentials, like that bundle. And then again, maybe add this if you know you're having some specific sleep problems, or just looking for better quality, or you just want to try and see like how much better your quality would get as just an experiment. Consistency, I kind of talked about this before. Really make sure you wake up and you go to sleep pretty much in the same time span. You know, you can change that an hour or so. Like if you are on the weekend, you want to sleep in a little bit, but don't do too much, because it will really create like the Monday blues. It really is devastating for your body's stress levels. If you're having a hard time adapting to stress, I would look at really trying to regulate your sleep times. This is this is kind of interesting, but like make your bed in the morning. There was a research study done that people sleep better in hotel rooms. And one of the things that they found is that there was just a little bit more tidiness, and the bed was made every morning. And so if you want to try this, but make your bed in the morning. There's a lot of research that shows just how much more successful people are when they make their bed in the morning. But try and make your bed, and I bet you will sleep better. So number 13, it's get adjusted. This is specifically on the neurological side of things. When you get adjusted, it really does help your body regulate that parasympathetic sympathetic nerve system. If you are someone who has chronic stresses and you find yourself in that sympathetic dominant mode, it is incredible how an adjustment will allow your body to regulate that sympathetic dominance and allow your parasympathetic nerve system to regain, superiority, especially with sleep cycles. Research shows that when you're getting adjusted, especially in your upper neck, it does help to increase vagal tone, which is the vagal nerve is part of the parasympathetic nervous system that regulates most of your automatic physiology, called your autonomic nerve system. And so make sure you're getting adjusted. Again, I'm typically speaking to patients with these webinars, but just stay consistent with your adjustments. If you have higher levels of stress, and I've been talking a lot about this in the current season, so it's in December currently when I'm doing this webinar, and so there's a lot more stresses in the holiday season, and some of them are good stresses, but they're still stresses. I consistently tell people to make sure you're getting maybe an extra adjustment if you're having more stresses to help regulate that nerve system so your body can adapt to these stresses. But getting adjusted has been clinically proven to improve that parasympathetic, sympathetic nerve system regulation. So it's absolutely on the list to make sure that you're improving your sleep quality. So you might be getting adjusted, but maybe your spouse or your kids aren't. This is just one of those suggestions or wake up calls to maybe see if they need to get adjusted. Get them scheduled for that initial new patient exam and x-ray consultation to find out if there is any sort of subluxations that are affecting their nerve system and its ability to self-regulate. Obviously, there's lots of warning signs that you have subluxation. If you have, neck or back pain, headaches, mood instability issues, acid reflux is a big one, digestive issues, numbness and tingling in your legs, sciatic issues. I mean, again, the list of warning signs just goes on and on and on. But again, a big one is the fact that they just are having really bad sleep, and that can manifest in, they're not handling stress very well. They have things like headaches, high blood pressure, heart rate variability issues. I mean, you name it. And again, just an idea of how your nerve system regulates your body's physiology. Remember, your nerve system is what is in control of every other organ in the entire body, including adaptation. So the sympathetic nerve system is in dominance in that survival mode. And it's really good to have sympathetic dominance in stressful situations so your body can overcome the stress. The problem is we just live in this chronic stress society where it's just go, 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 go. And if you live in that state, your body is focused on survival. It's not focused on health. And so disease builds significantly faster when you're in that stress mode. Blood pressure, high cholesterol, your digestion is terrible, your immune system is significantly weaker, so more likely to get colds, flus. This is one of the reasons why this season is known as the colder flu season. Is not because it gets cold outside. It's because there's other stressors like sugar, starting with Halloween, so stress on the system. And then you have all the holiday stuff. People typically eat less, all sorts of different issues that would push toward, like deadlines, end of year stuff, push towards stress levels. And so the parasympathetic is not in charge. And so you're not healing, you're not regulating hormones, your immune system is not being upregulated. And so when you're getting adjusted, it helps to regulate these two nerve systems. And so it helps with improving sleep quality, regulating your healing. I mean, research shows that when you're getting adjusted, that your immune system is accelerating at night when you sleep, but when you're stuck in sympathetic dominance and you go to sleep, your immune system's not improving. It's not speeding up as well. And so you're really limiting your body's ability to fight off viruses, colds, flus, I mean, you name it. So make sure that you're regulating your nerve system. Another way that you can help to regulate your nerve system is through breathing. So one of the things that I would really recommend is doing some breathing, focusing at night. So instead of getting on your phone, trying to numb your brain to go into sleep mode, try to go through some breathing exercises. And you can look up some really good breathing exercises, but it's idea. So here's just a quick breathe in slow, 3 to 5 seconds, breathe out slow, 3 to 5 seconds, breathe in slow, focusing on your breath, focusing on your chest, focusing on inhalation and then exhalation, and then really just going through that and just, do that for as long as it takes. Regulates that parasympathetic nerve system, reduces sympathetic dominance. And so it is a huge benefit. In fact, throughout the day, I'd really just focus on some good deep breaths. This is also one of the reasons why exercise is so important, because it does increase your oxygen intake. The studies show that when you are not having deep breathing or you're not exercising, you are suffocating or decreasing oxygenation in your system. And Dr. Otto Warburg won a Nobel Prize by discovering that when a cell becomes 70% deficient in oxygen, it has to shift its metabolism to use sugar for fuel as opposed to oxygen. And so the metabolisms gets broken, and then instead of being a normal healthy cell with respiration using oxygen for fuel, it uses sugar. And so by definition, that new cell that is utilizing sugar for fuel is a cancer cell. So by a deficient environment of oxygen, the cell mutates into a cancer cell. So deep breathing throughout the day will help oxygenate your system, as well as exercise is critical to getting that oxygen in through your cells to avoid that mutative state where the cell goes to utilizing sugar for fuel. So on sleep, and this is kind of an extra bonus. I literally just put this into the PowerPoint right before I started this. And this is really talking about sleep apnea or snoring. So obviously, if you have sleep apnea, you're depriving your body of oxygen. And again, we know that sleep apnea is very devastating to our health. And that's why things like sleep apnea machines are so popular and why so many people are recommended doing that. But one of the things that they found is that when you have sleep apnea is your jaw kind of falls in, and that soft tissue can clog your airways. Like your tongue kind of sags back and it can clog that airway. So that's what creates snoring issues. And obviously you're not oxygenating your system. You can hear people like choke at night. And so what they've found is that so the sleep apnea machine is pushing air like into your face, like forcing air down your throat, but it's not really getting the root cause of the problem with this cutoff here. I will say that one of the problems with this, and we've seen some incredible results with adjustments, but if you have a subluxation anywhere in your neck, if that nerve system is being stressed or there's pressure on the nerve system and it's interfering with some of the communication, it can affect the muscles in your throat. So just like if you had damage on the nerve going into your arm, that can make your arm weak. Okay, it can make the muscles weak. If there's subluxations in your neck, it can cause all this stuff to get weak. And so even if you have the sleep apnea machine, it's forcing air in your face, you're still having the weakness due to the subluxations. So getting adjusted I have so many patients that tell me that they sleep better just because they're getting adjusted. And one of the reasons is because we're getting stress off the nerve system going to those muscles in there. So you're getting better muscle tone. But something that I thought, and I came across that was really interesting, are these mouth guards. I think last seminar I talked about mouth taping and mouth breathing. Mouth breathing is really bad for you in general. I just go look at some stuff on mouth breathing. And so mouth taping has been pretty popular. So I have facial hair, so I don't like the idea of mouth taping. Plus the adhesions is probably bad for your skin. I'm not a big fan of that. And so last seminar I talked about some head straps that kind of close your mouth, and that does help with breathing and snoring, but it doesn't take care of the cutoff of the airway. So this mouthpiece has been really popular, and I've come across a ton of really awesome stuff about it. But basically, this mouthpiece, and there's kind of a picture there, that helps to hold your jaw in a better alignment to allow that airflow. So not only does it help with snoring, but it helps with oxygenation and breathing at night. And there's a massive difference with your quality of sleep, which leads to better energy, better stress adaptation. And so I literally just ordered this mouthpiece right before I did the seminar. And I don't know if my dad's gonna be watching this, but I ordered it for him because he snores like a banshee. Oh my gosh. And it's not just the snoring, because we don't live together. So it's not like his snoring affects my sleep. But when you are snoring and you're not breathing well, it increases that amyloid plaquing, which I talked about before, leads to things like Alzheimer's. And so in our family, his parents specifically suffered from Alzheimer's, which is a very scary, very debilitating disease process. And I know that he gets concerned about stuff like that. And, he's getting a little bit older. And so we've kind of seen some memory stuff. Not to call him out or to throw him under the bus if you're watching. I'm sorry, I'm sharing all your stuff, Dad. But I want to try this to really see how his quality of sleep improves. And so it can increase the breathing so that way his CSF can really rinse the brain and avoid the metabolic buildup of some of that toxic waste to improve his brain quality, his memory. Because remember, when you sleep is when you take short-term memory and you put that into long-term memory. And so we know that quality of sleep and breathing and oxygenation will affect your memory. So, and again, amyloid plaquing buildup, so metabolic waste buildup. And so if you or your spouse snores, or if they have to use a CPAP machine, I'm going to really, really recommend that you get one of these sleep guards. It's not, so there's two different types. It's not just one guard that goes in the roof of your mouth. So some mouth guards are more about avoiding grinding in your teeth, which is, I mean, if you grind your teeth, you're in sympathetic dominance, and you've got to start getting adjusted. That is no brainer. But this one has an up and bottom, and so there's an air path in the middle. So it will probably increase mouth breathing, like last year at the seminar I was doing, I talked about closing the mouth completely. So I don't think it's going to quite shut off like mouth breathing in general, but it will help to place the jaw into a better position. So it'll open up that pathway. So if you have sleep issues, I'm going to really recommend just maybe trying this. I just bought it off of Amazon. It was like $30. Choosing the right sleep position. I will say that like the first thing that I really want to recommend is trying to sleep on your spinal molds to allow your spinal curve. It'll really help, again, open up the pathway for your air pathway, as well as supporting your arc of life. It's going to be really good for supporting your lower back curve as well. So I really highly recommend that trying to lay on those rolls as much as you can. But like after that, side sleeping is the next best position for your spine specifically, but you got to make sure you have a really good pillow. So you're not laying out of alignment. So a really good pillow that's going to support your alignment. Maybe put a pillow between your knees to really help with like pelvic alignment. After that, the next best sleep position is the one that you sleep in. Okay. So rolls, side, or just whatever works. So everybody is unique. So action steps, go back through that list, really figure out which ones that you want to implement. And then, so, if you know that your nerve system is stressed or your body is having a hard time regulating that nerve system and you're not a current patient, we're doing our new patient special. We have those VIP referral cards. Well, obviously there's several links on our social media stuff, but $37 will allow you to come in and get your initial exam consultation, which will allow us to figure out maybe what warning signs you have that you could have some sort of misalignment. We'll do a physical evaluation with orthopedic testing to figure out structurally potentially where the damage areas are. We will do thermal imaging, which allows us to see where your nerve system is stressed. This is a really, really amazing technology. It allows us to see where there's nerve system that is excited and where nerve system is depleted and where the imbalances in your nerve system is. And then we'll do some very specific full spine digital x-rays to locate where there's structural misalignment, the degree of the alignment issues, if there are signs of arthritis or degeneration or injuries and stuff like that. Honestly, if you were to go to an orthopedic or a neuro doc to do all these tests, which they don't do these tests anyway, but if you were to get like an orthopedic exam, neurological testing, full spine digital x-rays, this could cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Normally in our office, it's around $300, but with these new patient specials, it's $37. It allows you to get in, get checked out. We're trying to remove any sort of maybe financial stresses for you to understand if there are subluxations that are affecting your health, especially if you're trying to get a spouse in, or if you just want to get your kids checked. This is one of those opportunities where like, it's just a no-brainer. You would go to the, doctor for yearly physicals, you check blood work, you check blood pressure, you do all these things, you take your kiddos to, the pediatrician for like baby checks and stuff like that, which is great, but they're never going to look at your nerve system to see how your body is adapting to stress. It's never going to look at underlying cause of why you might have these other health issues. They're just going to look at these things, and typically in the medical world, they'll recommend medications and things like that. But medications don't make us healthy. They might cover up a symptom, but you're not going to get healthier taking more and more drugs. Really what we stand for is trying to identify underlying root causes. And so many symptoms are an expression of your body's inability to adapt, your inability to adapt to stresses. So if you have symptoms or you have a spouse or someone that you know that has symptoms, make sure they're getting in and taking advantage of our new patient special. So that way they can figure out there's a subluxation that we could correct without drugs or surgery to improve or eliminate those symptoms and improve their quality of life. So here's kind of your action steps. This is the recommendation for the 30 days to amazing sleep. These are the things I'm really going to suggest that you try to improve this. So we'll have some, you can obviously pause this or you can write these down or screenshot this. We're going to pass these out in the office. But this is the 1 through 10 steps that I'm going to suggest that you try to improve your quality of sleep and to build better stress regulation, to improve your vitality, and just in general, every aspect of your health will do better if you get better quality of sleep. So here's your action steps. Make sure you check that out. I'm going to challenge everybody, and I'm going to be asking everybody when they come in the office if they're going to be doing the 30 days to amazing sleep challenge. So if you have any questions, ask us in the office. Take advantage of that sleep bundle. We'll have big discounts in the office. I believe it's 20% off. I'm not going to make you do any sort of special, like tell them I said this code when you check out at the front. Just know these bundles, there's going to be information up all across the office, but take advantage of this. If you're looking if this is for your spouse, they sleep terrible, maybe a good stuffing, a stocking stuffer, because the holiday season is coming up. But take advantage of it. You're really going to have some amazing benefits. So again, if you have any questions, make sure you're asking in the office. I hope you guys learned a ton of good content and action steps. We will talk to you later. We'll see you later. Bye.